Okay, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Village of Fannin May 26th workshop meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Say something to the Republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Kurt, your video, shut it off. Your video.
Hey, thank you. All right, we have quite a bit on the workshop agenda this evening. We do have two developers that are here with us this evening to do a presentation. The first one is Steve Giordano Builders, and you'd like to come up to the microphone?
Good evening, Mayor Knickerbocker and members of the Board of Trustees. My name is Aaron Warner. I'm an attorney with the law firm Zarin and Steinmetz, here representing the applicant, Mark Giordano, who's here with us tonight. And we're also joined with the applicant's engineer, Patrick Bell with Cronin Engineering, as well as the applicant's architect, Joseph Thomas with Joseph Thomas Architects. We're here with a proposal that we hope you will agree is an exciting proposal to redevelop underutilized village property located at 3222 Albany Post Road on the corner of Albany Post Road and Bleakley Avenue. This proposal is to redevelop the property to an 11 townhouse unit development. The property is located within the village's C1, C2 overlay zoning district, which permits up to 12 multifamily apartment dwellings or townhouses by special permit from the planning board. Here, and as the architect and engineer will describe to you in more detail, the applicant is proposing 11 townhouse units in a small but more than adequately parked townhouse development. Briefly, and again, before we get into the details of the proposed development, the village currently owns this property. So as part of this proposal, the applicant is proposing to purchase the property from the village. We have enclosed in our submission a commitment of sale document, as well as two resolutions from your board authorizing the applicant to seek a variance from the zoning board and also to seek two variances from the zoning board. I'll get into more detail about that later, but also to submit a special permit application and site development application. So like I mentioned before, we've submitted a draft commitment of sale agreement as well as draft authorizing resolutions for consideration from your board at your board's June 2nd regular meeting, permitting the project to pursue the necessary variance and ultimately to submit the special permit and site plan development application. The sale of the property as proposed would be contingent on the applicant receiving these approvals from the zoning board as well as from the planning board. To that end, and specifically with the variances, two of the units would require front yard setback variances. They're relatively minimal in our opinion, where the underlying C2 zoning district requires 30-foot front yard setbacks. For unit 1, we're proposing a 10-yard front setback. And for unit 11, we're proposing a 20-foot front yard setback. So tonight, we're hoping to get from your board is to be placed on the board's June 2nd regular meeting agenda for consideration of the proposed development, the commitment of sale for the village to sell the property to the applicant contingent upon the ZBA and planning board approvals, verbal authorization to submit an application to the zoning board tomorrow, which is 14 days in advance of the zoning board's June 10th meeting. And for the resolutions authorizing the applicant to pursue those approvals from the ZBA could be finalized and voted on at your board's June 2nd regular meeting. And finally, any other preliminary feedback that your board may have regarding this proposal, any of the commitment of sale documents or authorizations, and the proposed development. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the applicant's engineer, Patrick Bell with Cronin Engineering, who will discuss more of the details of this project.
Good evening, Mayor Knickerbocker, members of the board, Patrick Bell from Cronin Engineering. I think Aaron did a great job of laying out what's proposed with the project and what we're seeking tonight from the board and going forward. My office put together a site plan to show the layout for the 11 townhouses that would be served by water and sewer. We have adequate parking on the property as well for the units, turnaround areas, access via Blakely Avenue. We developed with some retaining walls as well, but as you'll see on the renderings that Joe has, I think it fits in well with what is proposed there as far as the layout for the property. And as Aaron noted, we do have two zoning variances that we're seeking for units 1 and units 11 respectively, for both our front yard setbacks, and we're looking to get those variants and a request to go to the zoning board to present the project there to get a determination on the zoning.
Would you mind identifying those on your
Sure.
presentation?
Yeah, unit 1 is here in the upper left-hand side, and then unit 11 is down here in the lower right-hand side.
Thank you.
While we're talking about that, how close would that be to 9A with the variance?
The setback to the property line is 10 feet. But then the separation from the property line to 9A is approximately another 20 to 25 feet. So from the road to the building would be about 35 feet. Any other questions? Turn it over to Joe.
Thank you. Good evening, Board. Joseph Thompson, architect. What we've tried to create at the property is a village proportioned development of 11 units. So it's a fairly modest scale, not a significant number of units, that we've tried to incorporate a number of traditional design features that are inconsistent with the village's design guidelines, which we're fairly familiar with. We were the architect for the approved Village Square project that's currently under construction. And so we tried to create this with a mass that's broken up down to a human scale, where we undulate the facade and the massing and have, again, double hung windows, steep gable dormers, features that are consistent with more historic traditional type village architecture that we hope will be a positive contributing element to the village's fabric, and at a point that is almost an entry point to the village itself on Route 9. So we hope that we've crafted this in a way that will substantially enhance the property. It's a housing opportunity with home ownership, as it's planned to be condo, or at least some form of ownership versus rental, which is a product that is becoming increasingly rare in northern Westchester as compared to rentals. So I think this is a nice attribute that, you know, maybe some of the other developments that are currently active don't offer. And again, it's a much more modest scale than some of the others that are in town now. So we've tried to place it on the property. I know it's been mentioned that there's setbacks that are needed in a way that manages the amount of cut and how aggressive the excavation is in that property. So that it's not overly disruptive to the site, but placed in a way where it's present, because some of the new zoning attempts to create almost a streetscape type of feel. So we want to feel that presence to some extent. And at the same time, that increased buffer that was acknowledged before between the property line and the road makes the severity or the significance of the variance significantly diminished, and that the feel of this will be that it's 30 plus feet from the roadside, which we believe should feel appropriate. So this rendering depicts the overall aesthetic and the packages that were distributed. There's floor plans. Basically, we are proposing to have 4 3-bedroom units, and the remainder is 2 bedrooms, 1,600 square foot for the larger units and 1,300 for the smaller. They would all have garages and on-site parking, so every unit would have at least 2 spaces. The garbage dumpster enclosure is sort of tucked around the back to try to be concealed and hidden. Landscaping plan would be developed. The planning board at the village allows us to continue the process and seek the approvals that we hope will again attractively present the site to the roadside. So we hope that overall that the village finds enough merit in the proposed application to allow it to continue and progress. And be happy to answer any board's questions. Have further discussion.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Products you'll be using on construction. I mean, I know we're getting into it, but I think I'd like to know what products we're going to use for construction. I see your design. I like the design. I just like to know what kind of construction it's going to be.
Thank you. So wood frame as the main structure. So we'd probably come out of the ground with a floor of concrete foundation. Because it's earth bermed. The backside would potentially lend itself to patios in the rear, and then be full story out of grade in the front to allow for garage access, and then wood frame from there on up. Exterior materials, if that's the intent, we would have wood constructed windows, probably a fiber cement type product for the siding, something that's durable, that's low maintenance, that's going to have some longevity and look good over time. And we're proposing some type of treatment on the exposed concrete. So right now we're showing, what would appear to be like a thin brick, so that it's not raw concrete. So we're trying to design, we're adding features like brackets, small skirt roofs, again, to break up the facade that would have metal standing seam on those accent pieces. So I would say quality materials, and, again, trying to articulate it in a way that breaks down the scale, gives us some character, and helps to relate it back to some of the vintage architecture, the traditional architecture of the village.
And the rear of the building, any amenities towards the rear of the building, what you'd be offering to the,
We'd be trying to incorporate patios on all the units that we can. At this point, we believe we should be able to get a small patio at each one of them.
There's going to be fire stopping between each unit.
Of course, yes. So we would have full firewalls that typically the way we detail them are breakaway walls. So essentially, God forbid, there was an issue, and we have to be fire sprinklered now too. With the new code, any development that's more than 3 units that has access to public water now has to be sprinklered. A year ago, that wouldn't have been the case. Now it is. Good idea anyway. And that 2-hour breakaway wall potentially allows one unit, if it were subjected to a fire event, to completely burn down and provide 2 hours of protection to allow the adjacent unit to evacuate and leave. So, between the firewalls and the fire suppression, I think it'll be a well-protected building.
And those are the only 2 variances you're looking for at this time? Are for the distance?
Correct.
So what is the proposed, when you develop this, how is this going to be built? And I'm not talking structure-wise, I'm talking property-wise.
So first would be preparing the site for the building. So there's some significant topography. Some of that would need to be removed to allow for the construction of the building. So Giordano Builders, they're a family business that's been in the area for a significant period of time, very capable. They have substantial equipment that can easily handle the ripping or hammering of the rock. And they'd be able to remove portions as needed to allow the building to be constructed. So there may be a period of time where that rock needs to be removed to prepare the site for the buildings, and then the buildings will be constructed at that point, the foundations, the stormwater, the site, and then erected from there up.
So what are you looking to remove on the rock? The steep
There's-
slopes?
On the site plan, it identifies some areas towards the rear.
Because I see on your scale here, above 30%, I think it's 20,000 square feet.
Right. So if we want to get into quantities, maybe I'll let Patrick come back up and speak to the rock removal a little bit further.
Yeah, on our, this sheet will show the steep slopes that we have. So we don't have it overlaid on top of the steep slopes here, but it would be in this area that those are the slopes that you're indicated. Where but by the village code, the requirement at the planning board would be to go through the slopes analysis for the slope removal.
So how much of the slope are you anticipating of removing?
Well, we have our disturbance over 30%. We have 20,000 square feet, and I'm going to say that estimate wise, it would probably be into about 7,500 to 9,000 square feet of the greater than 30%.
So is that in the front of the property or more towards the back?
It's going to be in the front. Well, I mean, it's this area right here. The darker red would be the area of disturbance where we had the houses are laid out through here and down through here. So it's really going to be this area over here that's going to be disturbed. And then in the front too for the access. Those are the areas of greater than 30%.
So are you planning on taking out most of that mountain, most of the steep slopes, or I'm just trying to get an idea of
Well, I
where
mean,
the house is being built.
if we're doing it by the numbers, there's 20,000 square feet of slopes greater than 30%. And our estimate is to take out maybe a little less than half of that. So this area back here is steep slopes. That's going to remain untouched. This area in front of it, we'd have a retaining wall. And then these are where the houses are going to be. It'd be kind of the front half of the property.
And how far will that grade come down?
This existing grade back here is elevation 60. Our first floors are about 35, so it'd probably be about a 25-foot cut there, but we have the ability to terrace with retaining walls. We haven't gotten that far into the design portion of it, but those areas can be preserved as much as can be allowed with what we're proposing.
And how is that in relation to 9A? If you were to stand on 9A and look over at the property line, where are the buildings? Would you be looking up?
Yeah, you would.
Got it.
Elevation on 9A, I mean, as it exists right now, this is elevation 18. So we're looking at elevation 37. So it's a 20-foot grade difference there. So, I mean, and that's what you can see from 9A currently. So, I mean, we'd be maintaining that elevation with what we'd be proposing for
Throughout the property?
yeah. I mean, the steep slopes right now, you don't see they're tucked back and they're, tree covered.
So will you be blasting? Do you know that?
The intent is not to blast, it is to use rock removal machinery, chipping, to ripping to get the rock out of there.
Because I know, I'm sure you've done your due diligence. You have a Verizon's communication box right there, just
Yep.
about.
Yeah, so I mean, with anything that's proposed, it would be to protect any of the surrounding properties.
And also Dickey Brook, which is an environmentally sensitive. It goes out into the Hudson River, so that would be something, that would be a concern also.
Yeah, and definitely have our erosion control set up to protect that and whatever measures we'd need to for that.
I'd like to get a better understanding of the amount of rock, and it's kind of hard unless it's a visual. It's kind of hard to understand, but I'd like to get a better understanding of the steep slopes that will be taken down. I don't have a problem with the project in general. We've had other people appear to the board in front of us about doing proposed townhouses. My concern is setting a precedent for the steep slopes here in the village.
Okay.
And what the impact would be, because, we do have a steep slope law in place, steep slopes code, and I'm sure you've looked at that.
Yeah, and this project, what's proposed triggers the requirements that the planning board, for the additional analysis, for that. I mean, we can provide some, cross sections through to show, existing grade and proposed grade, if that's, something that you're looking for to try to understand, what the, impact would be.
And I do like that it would be home ownership, instead of apartments. There's more invested for these people who buy there. And do you have an estimated sale price that you're thinking about? I know it's kind of early into it. After you get through some of the expenses, it might get more involved in what you're doing on the site. But I'm just kind of wondering, do you have a estimate of what you're looking at?
I mean, I would defer to the applicant, but I would just say even any number that we provided today. I'm sure
Oh, no,
would
nobody would
change.
hold your feet to the fire. No.
Well, I think the applicant would if I held.
I have permission from the applicant to speak. So right now, we think the target might be 750 to 800,000, maybe in that range. So to be informed as the process evolves and cost of construction are determined and finishes and such, but probably in that neighborhood.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, the 3 beds on the higher end, the 2 bedrooms on the lower end.
Sure.
Say that again, I didn't hear you.
3 bedrooms would be at the higher end of the range and 2 bedrooms at the lower end. Okay. Yep.
Anybody on the board have any other questions?
Just access from Blakely Avenue. Just explain that to the public, the accessibility from, because we have numerous complaints, about traffic. And just explain to the public how you will access the property and the proper turning lanes and just accessibility.
Sure. So there's a curb cut proposed on the Bleakley that isn't direct to 9. So the impact isn't direct exit entry to Route 9. So that remains unaffected. It's onto Bleakley. There's a light that controls, access to 9. Again, at 11 units, this is not a high trip generation rate. So, even if, let's say, one person per household, all had a commute around the same hour window, you may only get 1 car every 10 minutes or so. So it's a very low amount, and we'll have to make traffic projections to the planning board and trip generation rate projections to the planning board, but it's going to be a de minimis amount of traffic that's added. If it were 100 units, that'd be a totally different story, but it's only 11.
Well, the question will come up because that's a turning lane onto Blakely Avenue and you are exiting onto Blakely Avenue. And I just want you to have some clarity with the public so they understand.
Absolutely. And we'll prepare more and have more detail, probably as part of the planning board process once we invest more into it. Again, right now, we're pretty conceptual. We were hoping to get some feedback from the board tonight, also the board's blessing to continue the process. But again, to put the public at ease, with 11 units, I don't see more than a half dozen trips in or out, in a half an hour period. So it's a very low amount of traffic. And again, not directly impacting 9 because the light will control that access onto 9 from Bleakley.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
And what I would keep in mind, I would try to put the entrance as far back as you
As we
can, because that
Absolutely.
is a very tricky right-hand turn. There's a lot of traffic that comes out, into Blakely Avenue that way.
That makes total sense. The further we can be away from an intersection in general, the more time distance we have for people making the turn and entering and exiting, just makes it safer. So that'll be taken into account, and we'll try to push that as far west as possible.
All right, and then I guess any other questions for this gentleman? The architect? No? Okay. And then going back to the question to the attorney, the commitment of sale. I don't think I've ever seen a commitment of sale.
You can use the regular mic.
Okay, great. Yes, so the commitment of sale is designed to get your board's blessing that we may go forward with the zoning board application process, and also which the commitment of sale will ultimately allow the village to sell the property to the applicant contingent upon the applicant obtaining the zoning board variances, and also the planning board approvals, without having to memorialize the sale prior to getting those approvals. So that was the idea with the commitment of sale agreement. But we would also like to respectfully request a letter or at least a verbal authorization that we may apply to the Zoning Board of Appeals tomorrow to seek these variances, and the authorizing resolutions of which could be considered and voted on by your board at the June 2nd regular meeting.
I know myself, I'd like to get a little more information on the, the steep slopes, what we're looking at of taking that down.
Certainly, we can provide that to you.
Even if there's an opportunity for the board to go and do a visual, as much as possible.
I'm not sure what you're asking. You're asking for quantity of rock removed?
I'm asking for how much of a steep slope we're taking down, because there are benefits to steep slopes environmentally. So, and I don't want to get into a situation here in the village where we're allowing 30 plus and taking down substantial steep slopes throughout the village. So I'm just trying to get an idea of where they're coming from, how much of the rock they're looking to take out, the placement of the buildings, et cetera.
If I may, Mayor, wouldn't want to push the board to do anything didn't feel comfortable with yet, but there might be benefit to allowing the application to progress in the sense that we'd have the advantage of having consultants engaged to review that. Because ultimately we'll be subjected to the planning board's review and approval. And that could be potentially a coordinated review between planning board and the village board. We'd be happy to do a tour through once it's been further analyzed. But allowing the application to progress forward would allow us to submit that deliverable to the planning board officially, have it reviewed by their consultants, have the feedback of the planning board also to help inform the village board. Because allowing it to progress, isn't any indication of any type of approval tonight. We'd still have to do our due diligence and work through that process.
So if we say yes, go ahead, go to the planning board, go to the zoning board, the process starts. And I just, for one, and I do understand the planning board does review the steep slopes. I like I said to you, I have no problem with the project, Mr. Giordano. I know you do beautiful work. You're an excellent contractor. I know that. I'm just a little more concerned about the steep slopes.
And well warranted. Does the board have a final action at the end of the approvals where the board would maintain control? So no. Okay.
Well, now it would go to the planning board and zoning board, the
Right.
zoning board for the variance, the planning board for site plan review, steep slopes, et cetera, et cetera.
But not necessarily back to the village board?
No.
Oh, I see. I
No,
understand.
so that's
I
my only, And it should go to the planning and zoning boards. This is what they go to training for. This is what they do. So it should go to them.
Makes total sense.
So if there's an, I'm sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if there's an issue, wouldn't they point it out? And wouldn't that affect the progression of the project?
They could and then they could see that maybe there's not an issue with the steep slopes. So it depends. Like I
Okay.
said, this is.
But isn't that what they went for training for?
165 Steep slopes. So it's pretty comprehensive.
And there's no variance being sought
Yeah.
from the steep slope, law, correct? From
Variance
the-
would be on the zoning. Any variance
Correct.
would be zoning board.
Yeah. That's correct.
All right, so all I'm saying is so that the board understands is once we give the okay, then the process begins. And then if you get your approvals in the planning and zoning board, the property is sold.
Understood.
So,
I thought there would be a second measure at the end, so I understand the concern about progressing. What is it that would be helpful that we could produce on our end?
I want to just, how much of that mountain is coming down? I think that's I just want to get a visual. I kind of want to get it in my head is you're saying that the back end of it is going to stay, the front end of it is coming down. So I'm just trying to understand it. That's all.
Like a very clear diagram and maybe a visual from Route 9 that basically shows, what the manipulation of the topography might look like.
And the big thing is, are we setting a precedent with the steep slopes?
Right.
really think that'll be part of the process of the planning board.
Yeah,
And Dave, chime in if this is incorrect, but, I think by moving ahead, moving past our board, it'll then get into the process where they will have to identify that information and provide it to the planning board.
Yes. Unlike the variance, the application to the planning board for the steep slopes is written into the law. So they have to follow the rules and the procedures. You're really not setting a precedent per se, because it is allowed under the code, but it just needs to be reviewed. And there are specific engineering techniques that need to be applied as part of that application.
Thank you, Dave.
yeah, and if there's an issue, isn't that what they're trying to identify? If for the zoning and planning board, if there is an issue?
Yes, well, yes, the planning board would be reviewing that in conjunction with Mr. Palmer, reviewing the engineering techniques that would be required in order to not only to excavate, but then also during the construction process to ensure that erosion sediment control techniques are properly applied. And that's also an enforcement issue. And then also the engineering techniques relative to not only the excavation, but I think you had mentioned that the terracing, but also the base of the building is acting as a retaining wall.
Correct, in a
Right.
sense, because it's earth berm, so that would handle
Right.
maybe the first 9 to 10 feet.
Speak up a little bit.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you gotta go closer.
Sorry about
to
that.
hear.
So that the first 9 to 10 feet exactly would be buttressed and supported, because stabilization is an important part of this, by the foundation of the building itself. The idea would be to come off level with a patio to whatever depth we can achieve, hopefully something reasonable, 10, 12 feet to provide, outdoor dining table, a grilling area maybe for each of the owners. And then, with the retaining walls that we would have, potentially could be terraced and landscaped to soften the appearance of it, as they're engineered.
And these are some of the similar issues that your board reviewed as part of the AMS application, because you, under that application, under the C1, C2 overlay, you retained the site plan approval authority. But you had basically the same issues with excavation for material, and then also how you would treat the retaining wall post-construction.
Mhm. Yeah.
So same issues would be
Same
applied
thing.
and be reviewed by the planning.
Yeah, I think what concerned me was the slope analysis that was done here, and over 30% was 20,000 square feet. We're not talking just a little sliver. Any other questions?
Respectfully, Mayor Knickerbocker, the applicant and its engineers and architects will take all due care to follow the village's slope analysis law and regulations. We hear your concern, and it's something that we intend to fully address with the planning board. So again, we're respectfully requesting the board's blessing to be able to go ahead with the zoning board application, as well as eventually, ultimately, the special permit and site development plan application. Is there any way we could have a preliminary vote, or just to get a temperature from your board on how this could go?
What's the board's pleasure for having them come back next Wednesday to move the process forward? I'm sure you've done like 99% of your due diligence on the piece of property itself.
Personally, this parcel has been for sale by the village for many, many years. I think we've only had a couple people, interested parties. This is the first one that really, with a viable solution, I think is really reasonable. I'm willing to give the commitment to have them go forward with the planning and zoning board onto the next steps.
And I'm certain, since you have to go through other phases, planning board, zoning board, they're going to follow the letter of the law. They're going to make sure you take safety precautions. So I have no problem either with you going forward.
Bob?
For all those reasons that Steve and Willie just said, I agree with that 100%. The planning board's got a job to do. It's their job, correct?
That's right.
So I'm okay with it going forward.
Anthony?
I'm confident that the planning board and zoning board will do their homework and professionally tackle this. I feel that you should, I'm okay with them moving forward with their application or not application, but moving forward with planning and zoning.
How about you,
Just like to
Teresa?
get a better understanding of the slopes, that's all. You know, like I said, in general, it's a smaller project than what we've seen, 11 units. So it's not a massive building. Their home ownership. You know, it's just, yeah, I don't want to see us taking down all the steep slopes in the village. That's my only concern.
Understood, Mayor. So with that, do we have your board's blessing to move forward?
You have the majority.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for coming in
Thank
this
you.
evening.
Mm.
Okay. Let's see who we have next here.
Thank you again.
All right,
And
thank you.
and Mayor Knickerbocker, if at any point you wanted to tour the property as we further develop it while it's under the planning process, we'd be happy to extend that to you.
Okay, I would love to do that. Yeah,
And
when
that
the
way
planning board goes
There could
through,
be an
I'd love
active
to be.
conversation between
Yeah.
you and the planning board as it's in the process. So, we certainly don't want to sidelight those concerns. I think they're relevant, and we'll have to do our due diligence to ensure that.
Just have to get my hiking boots on, that's all.
That's right. We'll pick a nice day. Take care. Have a good evening,
All right,
everyone.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have another developer. This is a presentation from Landy Associates LLC. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. My name is David Cooper. I'm a partner with the law firm of Zarin and Steinmetz, here representing Landy Associates, the contract vendee for 501 Broadway. That's the parcel that is across from Lens Cove Park and adjoins the property that's a portion of the Village Water Treatment Facility. We're here tonight to discuss a potential public-private partnership to redevelop this intersection in the village with a mixed-use project. The vision would be to revitalize and activate Lens Cove Park as a destination for residents, as well as bringing an amenitized apartment building to Broadway. With me is Patrick Normile and Chris Lynch from Landy Associates. And you've already met my colleague, Aaron Warner, who just stepped out of the room, but he's also working on this matter as well. Quick background. Patrick and Chris were here in 2025, about a year ago, discussing an earlier iteration of the redevelopment of this parcel with just a residential component. They've advanced the plans and the vision for this site and realized that there's a real opportunity to create a destination at this site, taking advantage of Lens Cove Park and the proximity to the river. The idea would be to activate this area with an expanded trail system, an improved park, maybe a restaurant use at the Cove, Lens Cove Park, along with a new residential building on the Broadway side. I'm going to let Patrick go through the details of the proposal and the vision in a second. But before we get there, why am I kicking this off? Well, the first piece is because to make this work, we would need to purchase the unused portion of the village's property where the water treatment plant is on the Broadway side. What this would be a true public-private partnership where the applicant would obtain that property from the village. It would be an underutilized, obviously it's off the tax rolls right now because it's village property, in exchange for the improvements to Cove Park, to the Lens Cove Park. That would remain in the village's ownership. That would be the village's public park, but the applicant would pay for and undertake those improvements, and we'll take you through the vision of the improvements of that park as part of essentially the consideration for purchasing the village's property on the Broadway side. This would represent a public-private partnership that, Patrick is well versed in. Patrick and I are working on various other public-private partnerships in the village in villages in Westchester, including, I don't know if you're familiar with the recent building of the village hall and police and fire station in the village of Pelham. That was Patrick and I, as well as some other partners on that one, as well as in the village of Briarcliff Manor. Right now, Patrick is working on a new firehouse and police station for the village. In that same sort of scenario, what we're proposing here is for the applicant to enter into an LDA, a land development agreement, with the village, which would lay out the vision, the sale itself in exchange for the improvements at Lens Cove Park. We, the village, upon approvals, would convey that portion of the village property that's on the Broadway side for the residential development. The purpose of while we're here tonight, one, is to show you the vision and take you through kind of the concept here, and second, to be able to move the next step forward, which we believe would be to engage with your staff and consultants on not only the LDA, but also the petition or rezoning petition. The reason why I bring that up is the other reason why I'm standing up here before you is because this application would require a rezoning of the village and 501 Broadway site. Right now, that site's in the M1 district, which would allow this type of redevelopment. We would be petitioning your board to include it in the C1, C2 overlay district that you've already been discussing tonight, and I know has been prior discussions. And then also seeking the special permit for residential development before your board. Now, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because before we get there, we think we would need an LDA in place as well as more meat on the bone of the concept plan. But the purpose of tonight is to start discussing getting to that position so that we can formally submit a petition to you. So with that, let me turn it over to Patrick to take you through the vision and how the plan has advanced since the last time they were before you. And then I can come back up and answer any questions and discuss what our initial ask is.
Thank you, David. Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. Hi, Marcus. How you doing? Maybe could you pull up our presentation? So I'm going to walk through a few things, then would love to open it up for discussion with the board. As Marcus lines this up, we're going to start with what we presented about a year ago to the village. So if you go to maybe the fourth slide, the prior plan, I think everybody knows where we're talking about. Yes. So we were here about a year ago, and we had proposed a straight residential property strictly on the 501 Broadway parcel, which we are under contract to buy. This can be done entirely on the private property, but since the time we were before the board, we've been developing our plans and have come up with what we think is an exciting potential vision for the future. We want to share some ideas with the board. Everything I'm going to go over is just the ideas we've come up with on our own. If it was exciting to the village board, we'd love to explore that, tweak it, change it in whatever way the board would like. So if we could go to the next slide. So this now shows the parcels we were talking about. The 501 Broadway site, which we're under contract to buy, as well as to the basically left or north, the part of the village parcel that we're proposing to purchase. Across the street, this visual shows proposed park improvements to the Lens Cove Park. We think there's a very exciting possibility here in terms of what could be created, and it builds on a number of the village planning principles and LWRP proponents that are in the plan already. So I'll just sum up kind of the key parts of what we're proposing. Number one, it's Lens Cove Park improvements. I can barely see this. So it says expansion and refurbishment of waterfront trails. We're going to show you some examples of that. And then creation of a waterfront dining destination. We have some visuals, but if you think of like Harvest on Hudson in Hastings or a Half Moon in Dobbs Ferry, it's that kind of waterfront dining to be developed in partnership with the village in the park that would be an attraction, not only for residents of Buchanan, but people coming from the larger area. We really want to make the park and this dining experience things that people want to come to Buchanan to see and to enjoy. Another piece that's in your LWRP as well as planning principles would be preservation of open space and creation of a new pond trail and related improvements. So on our site, as everybody knows, there's an existing pond. As part of this proposal, we're going to propose giving that land to the village as open space. We would then create trails around it as well as parking improvements along Bleakley Avenue. The other piece that I think is very, very significant to the village is this project could be a substantial, or could substantially strengthen the village finances in terms of increasing the tax base that the village currently has and through the payment of pretty significant municipal fees as part of this development. We obviously know what financial constraints the village is dealing with, has been dealing with. So again, we think the moves that you have been making to diversify your tax base, to bring in more revenue, have been really good moves, but obviously you've been dealing with a pretty significant hit in terms of losing Indian Point and your tax base. The other thing, as David mentioned, we had heard with respect to the AMS project, that's an all-residential project. I was not involved, I was not around, but I do believe the board had requested some mixed-use development be incorporated into that part of the project, some more commercial development. I don't think the developers in that case did. So when we were thinking about this site, we were thinking about how could we generate more commercial activity, and that's really what led us to think about creating a really great waterfront dining experience that could bring that kind of commercial activity to this area. And then finally, just across the board, obviously you're dealing with, financial constraints. Ledsco Park is a beautiful park, but obviously you have financial constraints in terms of what you can or can't do. So partnering with us, we would undertake all of the improvements that we're about to go through at our cost, at our expense, in partnership with the village. It would be driven by the village. We would work with village stakeholders to create what you wanted, but then all improvements would be on our dime. So this is just a little, hand sketch. We're going to get into it. Let's see. You can't, anyway, you can't really read what's there, or at least I can't, but some of the key pieces that are there would be, improving the parking lot that's there right now, creating this waterfront dining experience like we talked about, improving the trails that exist currently, as well as refurbishing and creating new trails throughout the park. Then, again, I've heard this, you guys can comment, but I think it's an issue that there are no bathrooms down there. So part of our proposal would be, as part of this waterfront dining restaurant, whatever that turns out to be, we would also provide public restrooms that the operator would be responsible for, and that would be another benefit that could be available to residents who go down to the park to enjoy that space. So, now I'm going to move over here. So we had Steve Griggs is our landscape architect, so he put together, this is going to be hard for me to read, so I'm going to just the glare. So again, this just talks about the potential that you have with your Lens Cove Park. It already has direct access to the Hudson River. It has a rich and varied topography, and there are already trails and gathering spaces there. But what it's missing is kind of a coherent, cohesive, unifying vision, and that's what we're hoping to work with the village to create. So the goal would be to transform Lens Cove Park into a place that invites people not just to visit, but to belong. You guys can read the slides, when you get it, but it's about creating a place that people want to visit, not only residents of Buchanan, but also people from the larger area. So this is interesting. So this is from the LWRP survey. So there were 600 people surveyed. At the top there, it says 583 people responded, 17 skipped. So we're going to start with number one. Number one, 522 out of the 600 people who were surveyed said the number one thing that they'd like to see along the waterfront is a river walk or walking paths along the river. You guys have that to some extent, but it's really not at the level it could be, and we'd love to work with you to kind of create this as a real community asset. Now, interestingly, tied for second place with 397 responses each are waterfront picnic areas, which we could easily incorporate into our plan, and a cafe or restaurant near the waterfront with water views. Again, this is something that residents are saying they would like to see. So again, if it's something that's of interest to the board, we'd love to work with you to make this a reality. We can go to the next. So these were kind of the key principles underscoring what we wanted to do, like trail expansion and connectivity. That's obviously a very big concept, very big planning principle. We'd love to create this trail around the existing pond and have that trail connect with your Lens Cove Park. Obviously, there are plans, I think, for the Indian Point area just to the south. Like in the future, there could be some development, there could be some more waterfront parks. So you can really create a lovely network of trails like at this critical corner. You know, obviously, when you drive into the park right now, it's just kind of a driveway, not really, you don't really know what it is or what it is. So we think there's an opportunity to kind of create a real sense of arrival and an entry statement. Then we talked about the waterfront and gathering areas. Again, this is something we'd love to work with the village board to kind of create the space that you'd like to see in your hometown. Obviously, lighting and safety improvements would be part of it. Parking and adding, you know, public restrooms. Again, sounds like would be helpful. And then finally, like this, creating this cool place where you guys could go on Thursday night, on Friday night, on a Saturday afternoon, where the community could gather not only at a restaurant, but perhaps other things. One of the other surveys I saw, another thing that was talked about was kind of having a food truck area. So like your parking lot is a pretty good size. You could envision like having 3-4 different, you know, food trucks there for special events. And again, you could imagine what kind of draw that could be for your residents. So we can go. Now, this is another interesting one also from the LWRP survey. I've highlighted the numbers at the top, 376, 423, 306. Those are basically the ratings of 4 and 5. So the question was, what would you like in terms of waterfront redevelopment near Indian Point? So specifically this area. So number 1 was public open space. You already have that with Lens Cove Park. But then the other 2 top responses were a restaurant that had 376 people rated as, you know, most desirable or second most desirable. And then over to the right, 306 responses for a brewery or a cidery. So there is that desire by your residents to kind of create some kind of, well, they want open space at the waterfront, but they also want something like a food place down at the waterfront. And so this is a great picture exemplifying what could be on your waterfront. So this is just like an outdoor patio off of a restaurant with the Hudson River in the background. Like, I can see it. Like, you have a beautiful part. You're at a beautiful part of the Hudson River. Like, it bends so dramatically. You can see the hills across the way. I think it's just a really gorgeous part of Hudson River. I grew up in Hastings on Hudson, so we had the Palisades across the way. But the way the river bends here, it's like one of the most beautiful parts of the Hudson River. If we could work with the village to create something that you want, and then get more people, more of your residents, more other people visiting the area, I think you really have a tremendous opportunity that you could capitalize on. Now, this will walk through some of the potential improvements that we could work with you on. So this is obviously a picture of the waterfront path that says before, but that's today. And then this is what we could, incorporating benches, obviously making improvements to the pathway. Next one. And again, you can see these beautiful views that you have from your park. And again, we work with you and the landscape architect to kind of create an inviting place where people would want to visit. Tropiano Trail, this is, there's a gate preventing you from walking through there. So if we could go to the next one, again, we'd want to create like a again, these markers that can tell people what's here and what they can do. So again, we would, work with our landscape architect to kind of create a more rugged trail in this case. And then this is even more rugged. So, as I mentioned before, like these proposals are ideas we see as implementing some of the village's planning and LWRP goals, namely, expanded and improved waterfront access, mixed residential and commercial activity, expansion and connection of public trail systems. This could be a new section of the Hudson River Valley Greenway Trail, preservation of open space, like I mentioned, and creation of destination-oriented waterfront uses. I think that is, near the end. So those are ideas just to kind of get the conversation going. And again, those are ideas, like a starting point, and again, something that we've been mulling over and kind of developing. So we'd love any feedback from the board. Again, these are just starting ideas, but things we'd love to, if the village was interested, work in partnership with to create the kind of places that you want in this part of your town. So again, thank you for the time tonight. We'd love some feedback. I'd love to answer some questions. We also got Chris here as well, if any questions for him as well. So thank you.
So the actual structure itself, which is the key component here, the building, just give us a little insight on that. Has it changed? Because I don't remember what the last concept was. Just give us a little bit on that.
Can you put the last screen back up?
Yeah, so the proposal was for around 225 apartments.
Mhm.
They would be all market rates, and they would be a mix of studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. So that's identical to what we had proposed last year. And so again, it would be have all different kind of typical amenities for this space, but it would be exactly like what we proposed last year. Again, I think in terms of financial and fiscal impact, I think this project could generate some significant fees income for the village, and then obviously really broaden your tax base in a positive way. But we think it's an incredibly desirable location. I mean, this is a beautiful spot. It would have beautiful views, and it's just a beautiful area. And if we could do these other enhancements to your park, to the pond trail that we'd love to dedicate to the village, we think it could be really incredibly attractive place for people to live.
So I have a few questions. I'm
As
sorry.
far as the restaurant facility itself on the new Lens Cove area, we would take ownership of the restaurant and be the leaser?
So
Or how's this gonna work in our favor?
well, David will comment, but this is your land.
Mm-hmm.
So the point would be, as part of this public-private partnership, we would do all of these public improvements, whether improvements to the trail, creating new trails, fixing up the parking lot, other things, and building this facility would be on our dime. In terms of the actual mechanism, we'll let David talk through options.
The short answer would be the village would own the land and the building. They could rent that out, rent the restaurant out. This wouldn't be part of the private development.
I just wanted you to publicly say
Yes,
that.
which is where I thought you were going, but I
Yeah.
thought, let me just answer the question. Yes. The whole purpose of the discussion of the park and the improvements is because it's a critical piece of the partnership and the exchange. And so I think we're going to go into the residential building because we were focused on the park. But because that's the newest piece of this proposal, and in order to get to an actual application before you, we need to make sure that the village wants to move forward on this and get an LDA in place, which is going to focus a lot on what you want to see on your property. That's why we're talking about that. But yes, it would be your land to lease. You want to go through that?
Yeah, can we, Chris Lynch here, can we pull up the last screen that shows the building with the park next door? And then can I ask you to zoom in a little bit on the building itself?
Is this what you're talking about?
Yes. And then maybe zoom in on the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good enough. That's good enough for now. So this is good enough for now. So what you see here is a wood frame building wrapping around a concrete parking structure. So a large percentage, 90 plus 95% of the parking is inside in the structure. So it allows us to build a beautiful building. So you'll see from Broadway, beautiful various types of finishes on the outside of the building. Very few parking, like I said, wood frame. And these roadways, this is in a good spot on Broadway. It was designed for, or it could handle the capacity of Indian Point. We have capacity in the road. We have a line of sight. We believe we'll study it through the secret process, but we believe that the building will show it's not just tax positive, but it's going to be a beautiful building, and it's really going to really improve the area. Any further questions on the building?
I do.
Stories?
Mhm.
At least four stories with a few areas maybe that might be 5.
Basically a base.
What would make it 5? The basement?
Yep, the basement.
I could answer that. So in certain places, obviously, the grade changes. So most of the building would be 4 stories. There's like 2 areas where there'd be a basement with 4 stories above. So in those 2 discrete areas, it would be 5 stories, but the bulk of it would be 4 stories.
So the 5th story would be below grade.
Well, so let's say at the front of the property, for example, there'd be one area where there's a lower floor and then 4 floors above. So at that point, it would look like 5, but going around the side and the back and the other side, it would be only 4 stories. So primarily in most areas, 4 stories.
So after your last presentation, certain issues came up, and I would like to know how you would respond to this. Some of the concerns were, a building that big will impact traffic. A building that big will impact the sewer system. A building that big will create more incidences with the police. What would you say to a resident that's concerned about that?
We'll study all those. Believe it was sewer capacity, traffic, and municipal emergency calls. We'll study all that, but studies will show we can manage and show that the 911 calls and the like, that there's capacity there. There's capacity in the sewer system. We'll study that. And then the traffic, as I noted a moment ago, the roads were built to accommodate Indian Point. We'll study them, but we're confident that the studies will show that we can manage it.
Yeah, the other thing I would add to that, sorry to jump in. First,
Yeah.
can you hear me? The other, I'm usually accused of yelling, so I think, the other thing I would add to that, particularly on the municipal services, remember, what we're seeking is to use village-owned property right now, right? In other words, that would be taken or onto the tax rolls, because right now it's off the tax rolls. And that would then, the revenue generated to the village, to the county, to et cetera, would offset the increased costs for whatever 911 calls or other municipal services. Lucky or unlucky, I don't know, but because your board would be issuing the special permit and the rezoning, we would be before your board during the secret process, I believe. And all of those studies, I'm sure you're going to hold our feet to the fire to show that there won't be a traffic impact, that the fact that an increase in levels of service at this area wouldn't be significant, that there's sufficient sewer capacity, water capacity, et cetera. Right now, just to say, obviously, let us finish. What I would say is the plans are still at the conceptual level. So you don't have an EAF before you, you don't have a traffic study, you don't have anything that would bear that out. When we move forward, that would be the first thing we'd be providing to the village to kick that off.
No, I understand. I just want to be transparent, and these are the concerns that have been raised mainly on social media. But some individuals have come forward to share their concerns, and I respect that. So I want to make sure that those concerns can be addressed so that if a decision is in your favor, it's an informed one.
Yep. And if I could just add, so I think that's a fantastic question that you raised. Like, every project will have impact. So before your board, it's your job to kind of weigh, okay, in this particular case, do these public benefits and publicly good things outweigh the whatever impacts there are. So I think that is a fantastic question. So I think we're before you saying, this project could generate significant revenue to the village, which obviously is very important. I think it could revitalize this part of your village. We would be paying for significant public improvements to your public land. And again, it's probably things that, given, like most municipalities, you're obviously very strapped in terms of what you can do. So I think taken together, like looking at all the public benefits versus, the impacts, which there will be, it's up to your board to decide, like, is it worth it? And we think like this could be an incredibly beneficial, like net positive in many, many ways to your town. So we'd love to have the opportunity to kind of share the studies like Chris said, and then it's up to your board to decide whether or not it is really an improvement and a big enhancement to your village. That's what we'd like it to be. That's what we think it could be. So thank you for your question.
And if you answered this already, I apologize, but how much would the units go for?
So we had that on our slide. So years ago, a year
I
ago.
remember.
So I think like studios were somewhere between like $2,000, like around $2,000. One bedroom's probably between $2,500 and $3,000. Two bedrooms more like $3,500, and the three bedrooms were over $4,000, $4,500. But I didn't include that in that one, but I could send that in as follow up.
And my last question, how will you vet the tenants?
So we have a professional property manager, it was mentioned in our slide last year, Conover Residential. They manage about 7,500 units. They own or partially own more than half of those. They're in the Northeast, so they're our property managers. So it's their job. They take in all applications. They handle all the marketing. They do credit checks and background checks. So it would be a professional property manager doing all of that work. So I think we're in good hands. And again, that's something we could share as follow-up. They're a tremendous company. They're partners with us on the project in Briarcliff Manor, which David mentioned. So they're a tremendous asset to the project and just a great property manager.
Right, and I lied, one more question.
No problem.
So will there be an age restriction on
No.
an applicant? Not at all?
None. And we don't know why AMS did that, but that's
Okay.
my opinion.
That's on them. All right,
No, like it's just, I don't know why you would want to limit your market. I think these units could appeal to, folks living in Buchanan who might be selling their, single family home and would like to stay in town and like sell their house, but stay here. I think young couples, I think that would be an appealing market. So I think there's a tremendous market for this kind of product, but no age restriction whatsoever. Happy to, put that in writing. You could put that in the agreement, whatever you want, but no age restriction. We'd like to keep it as it's helpful to us to keep it as broad as possible and try to market to as many people as we could.
thank you.
Is this project contingent upon purchasing the village property?
Well,
I mean, yeah, as shown now with the public improvements, yes, it doesn't work without it. So yes.
So George, while you're here, this is a question for you, coming off of what Bob just said. The stress on infrastructure is a big concern in our village as well. Our sewer system, our sewage treatment plant that's a property that we like, the sale is contingent on that. And by losing that extra piece of property, how does that affect our water treatment plant?
So I couldn't really see it in the diagram, how close it is to the plant. Because we need to know that, but we have not only what's existing, but we have future tanks being installed. So 4 stories up, I would imagine you're going to see a pretty good view of a sewage treatment plant, but I can't tell by this
Second
diagram.
slide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as impact goes though,
Impact on infrastructure, let's space that out before they show the picture.
So once we receive our permit for 750, as far as the impact, I'm not imagining. So if AMS was 25,000, this would be 50,000 of our capacity. If we're going up to 750,
Is it on screen?
no.
Funny. So here's the, if I'm looking at this correctly, here's the sewer treatment plant up here.
I can't tell.
Can you see it?
I think this is another one of those things. You actually have to walk the property and do a
Yeah.
visual. I
Yeah,
mean, you
we've
could see
done-
that on there, but you guys might
The
have, but
property, and we're confident that we're not going to have views, or very limited views of your facility.
I would like the engineer to be able to see where this is. And I also, or any other board
Yep.
members would like to see exactly where this property is located.
Has it
That's
been
a-
surveyed?
That,
Has- has
it's
it
actually, it's perfect because that's what we'd like to do is start engaging with George, with Stephanie and staff, David too, as well, to move this forward, to start talking about those specifics. So, that's what we'd be following up with.
How much property are you looking at? An acre? Like, what are you looking at?
It's about 3 acres of that full, that parcel.
So getting back to your question, I'm sorry. That capacity of say 50,000 gallons wouldn't, since we're getting an increase, wouldn't impact us right now. But when we go to develop Entergy, I was saying that there's the area that's next to the existing plant, the existing tanks, that we're going to increase and expand as part of our agreement with Cortland. So that's our future expansion. I'm not sure if they're aware of where we're expanding
No.
to and how much and whatnot. So, but yeah, it would be good to have the survey and find out what we're talking about.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Yeah, are there plans available for us to take a look at in terms of where?
Expansion, we
Yeah.
could put that on a plan for you. That's no
Okay,
problem.
awesome.
Yeah, I believe that's important, George. I believe that you guys should communicate
Yeah,
to figure out if this actually works.
yeah.
I mean, it seems like it's an instrument here to get this project moving. So,
Yes,
I mean, it's based on what your analysis is of the product, of the property.
sure. We can get that process going. We can engage with them and give them what we have so that they can come back with a plan that you can see the whole picture
Yeah.
without the aerials and whatnot.
And I believe we should walk the property and see it. If it's been surveyed, I'd love to walk the property and see what affects us and what would help and, you know.
Have you surveyed the property, or was this a survey that was used before when the battery storage people wanted to come in? Is that in that area? Because there was a survey done with the battery storage.
We've done of the
You've done your own?
The Griffin property,
Okay.
we've done our own survey.
Okay, that makes sense.
But
Yeah.
no survey on the village
Not
property.
sort of- Yeah,
Recent.
we would need your permission to
Correct.
do that. That would be in the
That was the
NDA,
question.
so, yeah.
But I didn't know if it was the same area that was
Yeah,
surveyed
no.
before, and that
No,
kind of was my question.
Right, it wasn't, agree, yeah.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
say it.
Mhm. So the concept is very interesting, okay, about redoing our Lens Cove lot. It is very exciting. But we all know that the restaurant failure rate, and I don't know, it's just a concept. I get that. But you know what? Wilda has asked the question, and the question has been quite a bit about our services. So your development is one piece of the puzzle, but we have other developments that have processed. So we have approximately 200 apartments on Albany Post Road. So you're saying 225. So we could potentially have 1,000 more people here. So yours might not trigger it, but a combination of everything might trigger issues with our services. And the bottom line here is the quality of life for our residents. Very, very important. The 911, we have AMS 55 plus, and I know I know what happens when we get in our 60s. We need medical more, so the concern is the quality of life, not only with the medical, our police departments. So if we have to hire more officers, they're $200,000 each. So, it's an expense. Marcus, have you done a rough estimate on what the tax benefit perhaps could be on this building?
No, well, this is the first time I heard how many units. So I need to sit down with the assessor, with the village assessor and with them, because we need to get more details of the rentals. Because now, I don't know, the numbers have changed, but it's always based on the rental income. So we can do that if the board wants to move forward. We have Roger, who our assessor, sit down with them, which will be another consultant, just to work out the numbers, and it'll come from the assessor, not from me. He'll work that out for you.
Yeah,
Right.
because I think we need to see the whole picture. Because if we have to hire 3 officers, you're looking at 600,000.
Right.
I
And
mean, what are we doing? What's the benefit to the village?
my bet is that this board or whoever's going to serve as the lead agency should we go through a secret process is going to ask us to do a fiscal impact analysis.
Mhm.
And that those questions will be brought up and answered.
I'd like to have a
Yeah.
better picture
Yeah.
before we even get into that process. I'm not a big fan of massive buildings. I have said it publicly. I will continue to say it. The development that Mr. Giordano was asking for, 11 units, manageable, home ownership, I don't have a problem with that. These are concerns for me. With the Lens Cove, one of the biggest things we've tried to do for years, just so you understand, is the parking lot. We've got an estimate on doing that. It's $1 million. It has to be capped properly. It was a dump at one time. So that's a whole game changer right there. Not only that, if you really look at our property there, we do not own a whole bunch of property. So the trails, a lot of that property in the back is Holtec property. So it's not like we can extend the trails all the way in that back area. And at one time, the concept was, we were offered a new baseball field over there, for free. But the board decided against it. So
We
I,
decided to use the money somewhere else.
well, hopefully you can
Yes.
get money for
Yes.
something else. So
Well,
that's where we are, so I am excited about doing something with Lens Cove. I am concerned with purchasing village property, and I'm concerned about the size of the building and the effects on the village.
If I may, all this is contingent upon a land development agreement. Dave, can you just kind of give us a high-level view of how that would work? Would that be something negotiated with us as a village and the applicant? Is there public input on that, or can you give us a little bit of color on that?
Yeah, typically, that's going to be a document where it's a back and forth between the village and the prospective applicant. And it'll have a number of different components to it. Perhaps maybe you want to just highlight,
Sure.
what would be in the draft.
Right. I mean, the nice thing about LDAs and I work on LDAs all throughout the Hudson Valley, including Pelham and Briarcliff that we just mentioned. They're flexible documents. But what we typically like to see in them are, one, obviously the terms of the sale, which would all be contingent on approval. Two, the village cannot commit itself to any outcome, right? You've got to go through secret. The land use process must go forward. So we always have very clear, often they're bolded, but it says in there, we're not committing to any outcome, right? The only thing that the LDA does is to say, should a project be approved, then the sale would go forward. What we do like to also see in there are milestones so that both sides know, hey, you're holding up your end of the bargain in terms of moving this forward. So, when an application would be submitted, when we would agree on design for the park, when we would agree for certain, impact fees, et cetera, and how the review process would move forward. I don't think it would be a super complicated document, but because it's kind of a threshold issue for both partners or both sides, I like to say partners, that's usually what we want to put in place first before an application is submitted.
Understood.
And if I could add. So I just wanted to add, we're very flexible. We got selected for in Briarcliff Manor. I think one of the reasons they selected us because we were willing to change. We came in with a plan which we thought was the most efficient and frankly financially beneficial to the village. And then they asked us to change the plan. They asked us to separate one building into two. They asked us to create a public plaza. They asked us to add trailways to the overall project, and their suggestions made the project better. Financially wasn't as good for the village, but it's what they wanted. So we're here. We'd love to partner with you guys. We'd love to do what you would like. There's lots of ways to make this attractive to the village and make it financially feasible to us. So again, that, back to that LDA, like, we got to that point with Briarcliff after making a number of changes that they wanted to see. So again, we're here, we're ready to move forward, right away. Again, sorry, we, took a little while to come back, but again, if the village is interested, we'd love to move forward in partnership with you, figure things out, make changes that you would like to see, and, hopefully make this happen sooner rather than later. I know Marcus is dealing with, different difficult financial budgets, so we'd love to get some money into the village's coffers and do some good things to improve your community. So again, thanks for your comments. Again, we can hang out if anybody else has any other questions, but again, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other board members with anything at this time?
No, just that I think Stephanie and David and George will be. Oh, sorry. Stephanie, David, and George will be reaching out to you to start talking about the design, et cetera, and the LDA, and start moving that forward. So, great. Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Dave Smith, you're up next. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Good to see you all again. Marcus, do you have that graphic?
Yes.
So I was asked to come back and provide kind of the status where the village is with the M2 zoning update. And at some point, we had prepared a draft of the zoning for the properties to the west of Broadway in the M2 district. And at one point, we had talked about.
There's a graphic, right?
Yep, that's it. Thank you. So at one point, we had talked about the Certainty property, which is the one on the, Marcus, maybe you could highlight it. Just there it is. Yeah. How that may be treated differently than just having the straight waterfront development district. And the waterfront development district, just to remind you, was supposed to be, or is intended to be, mixed use development, multifamily, commercial, retail, office. And because of the presence of the Certainty site, at one point it was suggested that we look at a special permit process because there was a significant amount of truck traffic that uses local roads. So we did that. We went through that process. I think there were at least 2 meetings with Certainty. And I think after those meetings, the village said, you know what, we want to take a different approach with Certainty property. And the concept at the time, while we didn't have a chance to amend the revisions that are the code that had been prepared, was that would be right now it's M2. And the M2 is actually a subset of the M1. The M1 allows for a number of what we'll call heavy commercial uses, lumber yards and auto body shops and those types of things, gas stations, things that you don't want to have on your waterfront. So the thought was, all right, let's make it like an M2A where gypsum manufacturing would be the only permitted principal use, and to leave it so that would remain as an M2A. Only use would be gypsum manufacturing, and the balance of the property would be the waterfront development district. There's also been some discussion about whether is there another option of rezoning the entirety of the property, but having the Certainty property as kind of an overlay that allows for that use to remain. And in the event sometime in the future the plant leaves or closes, whatever, after a certain amount of time, then the property would revert to the underlying waterfront development district. So that way, your board doesn't have to go through a separate process to rezone that property, would already have the underlying waterfront development district in place. So that's kind of where the language is basically teed up. It requires an amendment to your comprehensive plan because the zoning is different, and the comprehensive plan and the zoning need to be aligned. We've prepared the environmental assessment form. You've initiated the State Environmental Quality Review Act. That's the seeker process by circulating your notice of intent to act as lead agency. You got comments back from the county, from Certainteed, the planning board. Nobody objected to you as the village board acting as the lead agency. So I think the next step is essentially,
Yeah, I just want to make sure you, either, the second option you mentioned, just to make it clear, the Shira plan would remain as of right use.
correct, would
That's
be
all I'm making this very clear.
permitted principal
Mhm.
use as of right. There would be, I would suggest that, that the language includes something to the effect that once the plant leaves, it closes, it ceases operation for a certain amount of time. And I think I'd work with Mr. Cook, because there are certain limitations on, like, when a non-conforming use
Yeah.
leaves and before it can be, but you could set a time frame in there.
Yeah.
Where the property would then revert back to the underlying waterfront development district.
And that means it'll be mixed use?
That's correct.
Okay.
The underlying zoning would allow for that mixed use opportunity. Yes.
Okay.
So I just need some direction from your board as to the options that we've discussed. It's a fairly short lift to amend what we've already prepared, and then we can get that circulated to the public. The next step is essentially holding a public hearing to discuss the proposed zoning.
I know you've done a lot of work on this, and that's how we've gotten to this point. And I think another thing that's important is that Holtec is actually on that end piece of property where Unit 3 was, the training building, is actively working on that to be able to release that little parcel. Well, not little parcel, it's a substantial parcel there where the training building is. So, this is a good time for the board to talk about and the residents to talk about what they would like to see there.
Yeah.
Might be limited what can go there. I don't see housing going there. But now is a good time to really look at that before the property is prepared to be released.
Agreed.
The as of right,
Yes.
that aspect, I like that. I like that. I think that's the way we should go. Just explain that to me one more time, how that finishes up.
So right now, the plant is operating, it's a permitted principal use in the M2 district. You want to modify, I think you want to modify that zoning so that that particular use is the only permitted principal use. Because as I mentioned, M2 is a subset of M1. So the permitted principal uses in the M1 are also permitted in the M2. I think you want to, if that property becomes available, I think you want to have it developed as mixed use. So allowing the Certainty property to remain as kind of its own loading zone that allows it to continue operations as a permitted principal use, I think that's the direction that I'm hearing. And in the future, if the plant closes, then the underlying zoning in the property is the waterfront development district. So once that plant closes or it ceases operation, then the underlying zoning is already in place. So a developer doesn't have to come back to your board. You don't have to initiate additional zoning to cover the Certainty portion of the M2 district, the existing M2 district.
Yeah, I think I like that direction. I think that protects us the best, especially for our future.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, but
I think that's the way we need to go. They are still allowed to continue operations.
Absolutely.
We're not limiting their operations. They're still allowed to run their business.
They are. Listen, they need to, if they want to make improvements to their site, they need to come into the village for planning board, site plan approval or whatever, like normal.
It's like any other business.
So like any other business.
Yeah.
They still need to abide by the rules and regulations under the village and also New York State, but they have to, but they would be allowed at an as of right use
Right.
to continue.
I'm in favor of that.
Yeah. I appreciate your work on that.
Yes.
Dave, I think we've finally nailed it down.
I think the process come this far, so I think we need to move forward.
Finalize it already.
Okay, so what I'll do then, and I appreciate the input. What I can do now is I can update the language of the text, some of the graphics, the environmental assessment form, and then I'll get all that back to you and with a series of, all right, what are the next steps in the process?
Great.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Finally, David.
Agreed
on something.
50,000 things going on at the same time.
Wow.
All those balls in the air juggling. Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, so Mr. Palmer, discussion regarding public participation plan and the paving program sludge removal.
Since David's here. There was a part, well, recently we got a notice from the DEC that said we need to add a disadvantaged community section to our public participation plan. We added some verbiage in there in the introduction, which it's a long one word, a sentence for a paragraph, but it's expansion that requires revision to the Speedies permit application in which has been determined DEC potentially impact to one or more potential environmental justice areas and disadvantaged community, see figure 1 and 2, and the existing burden an existing burden report has been prepared and is included herein as an appendix.
George, I was going to interrupt. I just want to start off. This is just for the public information. This has to do with your application to go from 500 gallons to 750 gallons. I want to make sure people understand what this is all about. So if you can explain that a little.
Also, it's with the grant, with the money for the DEC, correct?
It's with the applicant.
Public participation.
It's for well, we need to increase the capacity, which is a requirement of the grant.
Yeah,
Yes,
we've
they're
been
like,
working
they're
on that for a
intertwined,
while,
yeah.
because right now we're 500,000 gallons. We're looking to bump it up to 750.
Right. We can't even finish the application for the grant until this is done. So that's why I want to make sure the public
Yeah,
understands what this is about. So
This was
Yes.
just another,
another hurdle.
Hurdle to jump.
New. This is brand new.
New. So this was enacted in January of 2025. The DEC didn't let us know when we went for the first PPP that this was a requirement, but they let us know recently that it was a requirement. And Dave kindly volunteered with some.
No, I didn't volunteer.
Just told you, need your help.
not volunteering, Dave.
So Appendix E was generated, and it addresses 4 specific questions, which David can speak to. So to end that, once we go through that portion of it, which is the Appendix E, we give it to the DEC. The DEC says, yes, you've explained those 4 issues that we've highlighted, and you can put it out to public for notice. So hopefully we can send this up to the DEC tomorrow, because we want
There's a lot of extra work.
extra
A lot
work.
of extra work.
And David can go through that portion of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so this is not atypical of New York State and DEC making things slightly more difficult or challenging for local communities with respect to grant funding. So as George had mentioned, the Village of Buchanan is listed as a disadvantaged community. And there are certain criterias that follow that, but the Village of Buchanan is actually identified as having comparatively lower burdens and vulnerabilities than other disadvantaged communities. The report that we had prepared, we took the highlights from the DEC website, which reviews these types of issues. And essentially, as George mentioned, there are 4 burdens or questions that they asked to be responded to. And they ask about relevant baseline data on existing burdens. And under the land use and kind of the land use component to that, they list things like housing vacancy rate. The village has a higher vacancy rate, 79%. And so I started to go through some of that data, and you have a 3% vacancy rate in the village-wide. So I'm not exactly sure why that comes up as a threshold issue. It does mention remediation sites, and obviously you have Indian Point, which is, one of them, probably the most important remediation site in the Hudson Valley. So I can understand that. And then it talks about inland flooding risk areas. And yes, you do have some, but your Dickey Brook and
Sorry.
Lake, Miha, thank you. But it's fairly limited. So and maybe that's part of why the village has this lower ranking than other communities. So anyways, we looked at, other health stressors that they've identified. They talk about traffic from diesel trucks. Yeah, well, you do have, and we just mentioned, certainty property and what they generate with respect to diesel trucks coming in and out and accessing the local road network. It talks about potential or projected contribution of proposed action to existing pollution burdens in a disadvantaged community. Well, you already have a sewage treatment plant. You're already home to that. You're living with that right now. That's regulated by New York State DEC and all of the effluent that comes out. So that I'm having a hard, again, we put this together in response to a requirement from DEC that this be prepared. And then the last comment talks about existing and potential benefits of the project to the community, including increased housing supply or alleviation of existing pollution burdens that may be provided by the project. So here, this particular project is intended to serve not only Village of Buchanan, but George, also portions of the town of Cortland.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, 100,000 gallons, we haven't
Yeah.
found out
Mhm.
where they've
it's going.
decided to put it, but
Coming from.
Right. So there's an intermunicipal component to this. There's also, we just talked about redevelopment of the west side of Broadway. So that these improvements are going to help in the event that you have new development, you've got the utility capacity to support it. So that's a summary of the existing burdens report that was prepared. My suggestion is to submit that as part of your application to DEC. If they have any comments on it, have them reach out to us and we'll begin to prepare a response. But I think, at least from my perspective, we've adequately responded to the comments that they've asked us to respond to.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
so, so soon as this was an opportunity to show this to you, the board, and you don't have to take any action with it unless you have comments or any input on it. We can submit this out tomorrow to the DEC and say this is and we want to put this on the, they might not be able to review it for this meeting, so we might have to do a public meeting in July. So if it's not June, it's July for the public meeting, and we'll submit it to them, and that's
See
it.
what happens.
See what happens.
Thank you. All right, Dave, do we need Dave anymore? Oh, yes.
Well, you have
South
cell
Tower.
towers.
Yes,
I'd like
sir.
to pay for that.
Could we, George, you might be involved in that too. So could we skip over the public participation and go into the cell tower?
Sure.
And then Dave can go. All right, so update on public hearing regarding cell tower.
That was that.
Yes.
So, yeah, why don't you update everybody where we stand with changes?
Cell tower.
Or the new local, the zoning change we have to do.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have a public hearing scheduled amending chapter 211. I don't have it in front of me. Do you?
Well, there were two components, as I
Yeah, there's
recall.
two.
There were zoning text amendments to the wireless code itself. And that needed to be, I think you need to, I don't know if an environmental assessment form was prepared as part of that. But that needs to be part of the package that gets circulated. Now, you've scheduled a public hearing for that already, that piece?
Hold on.
The change
No.
that Comey put in.
What? No, that's the Comey one. He's talking about schedule of use, right?
Well, yeah, so there's the proposed text changes that I think that Richard Comey had
Uh-huh,
submitted.
correct.
Right. So that's one part of the process. And then in discussing this application with Stephanie, the proposed location is at a
Right.
village property, right?
R40.
Which is in the R40.
Yes.
So,
That has not been circulated or done.
yeah, and as I recall, a wireless telecommunication facility is not a permitted use in the R40
Right.
40 zone.
Right.
So my suggestion when I was discussing this with Stephanie is to create a zoning amendment that would allow a wireless telecommunication facility on in the R40, as long as it's on village property.
Mhm.
Because you want the village to be the beneficiary
Mm-hmm.
of the lease that's, that comes with that facility.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is if we could combine both the text that's already before you along with this additional
Oh,
text
okay.
as one, it wouldn't be a heavy lift just to prepare an environmental assessment form and then circulate that with the public hearing notice. Now, because your board is the only board that can amend the zoning code, you don't necessarily have to go through the notice of intent to act as lead agency process under seeker. You could simply say that you're going to coordinate the environmental review, you're going to be the lead agency, and then you circulate that and you say, and you notice, all right, we're going to have a public hearing on such and such a date. And I think that's the cleanest way of combining what's already before you along with allowing for wireless facilities on village property in the R40 zone.
Okay. And in the meantime, the village can execute the lease agreement
That's another thing that's on the agenda, correct?
next week.
Yeah, correct. So the idea is to call for a public hearing at the June meeting next week for July 7th will be the public hearing. By then you have to give notification. So what would the process for that? Do they have to wait a certain number of days to approve it, or can they approve the change of zone that night?
They can approve the changes that night.
In July.
We'd open
July
and close
7th.
it.
Right, that's what we.
You can
have.
We'd open and close it and
Yes.
and
Yes.
approve the same night.
And then the separate item is the the lease agreement with Hemp Hill, so they can finish their negotiation for Verizon. That's a separate
Correct.
topic.
And that does not have to wait for
No,
this.
that's correct.
Correct.
So I could be on the agenda next week to would authorize the mayor to sign that modified license agreement.
And so we have the modified license agreement, we have the local law, and now we're going to have the change of use for
Right,
July.
right.
Which is on here for July.
Yeah, so what I can do, I can.
And one day
prepare-
we'll get a cell tower.
Right, maybe,
Promise.
maybe after all this.
It's been a few years.
For your next meeting, I can prepare the resolution, the paperwork to get all that started and initiated.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do we need Dave any further?
Dave wants to go home.
Yeah. Dave's had enough
He has to
time.
go write the resolution, right,
All
Dave?
All right. Okay,
Okay,
Dave.
all set. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David.
Yeah,
Thank you,
take care.
Dave. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you.
George, we're not letting you go yet, so
You're in the hot seat still.
paving program. And we got that this evening. The,
We had this for.
So we did have a bid on Friday. We received 4 bidders.
Oh, this will be.
We sent out a recommendation. It was the low bidder was ELQ. We've worked with them in the past. The bid was 350,000. And
There it is.
at the next meeting, which is June, you can award that project. We have budget, so we're set to go. 4th Street, Westchester. That's pretty much it.
Ready to go.
good.
It's a good bid.
Yeah.
350.
I'm seeing the
That's
other
really,
places,
it's
yeah.
really cheap. Really cheap.
I went through the numbers and
I don't understand how they're
the
doing it.
FPT number really throws me off.
Was the 30 or the 60? Someone had 30, one had 60,
The
one.
NPT, the 69,000
Six-
NPT.
And they've done work in the village before, correct?
That throws me way off. I don't know how that all figured in.
It seems, yeah, there seems to be the distribution of the numbers. Like that one could be a lot lower in my mind and the rest could be a little bit higher. But, I mean, that's all part of the bidding, so.
And they have done work for us before.
Yep.
correct? Yeah.
That's what I. Yes.
So,
All right, so now we're moving along with that and the sludge removal contract.
May 2024, we received bids. And in June 2025, received bids for the sledge hauling contract. Cook was the low bidder. In his bid, he had the option, or the village put in the option for an extension. That extension was exercised on June 18th, 2025. The bid was 119,900. So we get it for another year, which expires in June. So it's coming due and we have to put it out to bid again. So that's where we're at. So we had it in 2024, we extended it a year. And now we got a bid, so.
I gotta get another price.
And get another price.
Okay, good.
So, somewhere down the line, it's authorization to put it out to bid at the next meeting. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Let's see, I'm just looking at the June 2nd meeting. I don't know if anything, public hearing regarding that, public hearing regarding Knockbox, regarding extended public participation plan, call for a public hearing, schedule of use regulations, what we talked about with the cell tower, authorizing to sign the amended cell tower lease. I can't think of anything else here for you, George. Award bid for the road project. Yeah, I think you're good, George. Is there any other questions for George while he's here?
No.
All right. Thank you, George.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
Good night,
Good
George.
night, George. Oh, we were gonna go over the road realignments for Third Street. That was in the packet as well, if you want to go over that. Because I know one of the residents was interested in that.
Oh, that's right. The bottom of,
Third Street. You want to show that, Brad?
I didn't bring it up.
So that would be an add-on to,
So, at one of the last
Road
meetings,
realignment.
one of the residents was talking about, someone took their board, revisions or, putting curbs on Third Street. I could put it up there.
yeah,
That
in the
was-
good old days.
Years and
That's
years
why that
back.
went up there, yeah. Well, I can, actually, I could see.
I can't see it, but it works. Maybe
Just stand in front and.
maybe the audience can see it.
That's what we used to do. We used to just hold it up. Yes.
Oh, you're dating yourselves.
So, Third Street, it wasn't on this year's program.
Zoom in on it more so that everybody can see it.
Should we put a mic on it?
Oh, yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Grab Cindy's.
Grab Cindy's. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it needs to look better. than that. Yeah, I see better on the wall.
Mhm.
You see it?
Okay, there you go. Good. Hello?
Zoom in more. Okay.
All right. Am I too close? Okay. So this was one of the streets that wasn't done, wasn't in this year's or next year's, but it was discussed about realigning the curbs. So if you start down here by Center Street, so this is 28 feet wide, 28? Yeah, 28 feet wide. So the thought was to make this also 28 feet wide. I think the village code is more like 32. But since the Center Street is narrower, making this 28 is not so bad. But when you put in the driveways, you start to see the curb gets really close to the edge of the backs of the car. This one's not so bad. This person, 187, they park in the street. If you were to go out there tonight, you'd see parking in the street here. They would be a problem. This garage at 198, they would be sticking out into the street. I don't think they park this way. I think they park the other way, or they park in their driveway. So that's this side of the street. Coming down to the other side of the street, 190, this car would be sticking out a little bit into the street because of the curb. That would be okay. That would be okay. This person has a detached garage. That would be okay. This person, they have a driveway on 4th Street, and they have a spot on 3rd. I don't know if they have an apartment or something going on. So
No, yeah, I think, yes, no, there's no apartment. That's a private house.
that's a private house. And then the other driveway here is on Center Street. So the only real issue here, I mean, the realignment is not too bad, except for these two garages. But that's the issues that was of concern.
So you're talking about Center Street? The woman that had an issue was on 3rd Street,
Third.
Tate and 3rd. Tate and.
Right,
Yeah.
right in here.
Yes, yeah.
So-
It was.
Yeah, that, if you go out there right now, I drove there before the meeting tonight, and the car is like maybe a foot away from the garage, and you only have about a foot left, so it's really gonna be on top of the edge, if that makes any difference, so.
Well, George, they have a garage to put the car in?
Yeah, they
Or
have a
they
garage.
are outside?
Yeah, both of these,
Okay.
they both have garage doors, they can put them in, but this one would be a problem, but this has got ample driveway.
Where's the runoff issue? Because that's what was the.
Oh, the runoff issue. So there was some paving done by Con Ed up here. So there's a little ponding here, which can be fixed. You can mill
On
out
Tate.
the edge and.
You're on tape.
On Tate, yeah. You can mill out some of the asphalt here and get that to go again. When it was built up, whoever restored it was a little bit higher. There was an edge there. And then coming down here, there's a little bit of curb here, so they were talking about some erosion right in here, between the driveway and the catch basin. But it wasn't substantial. It was more like an effect of parking, like somebody's parking on the edge, like this. Someone's parking over here too.
So is the erosion because of the parking off the street?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not due to, there's plenty of
No.
pitch from here. There's 36, there's 32, you have 4 feet. You got plenty of pitch to get down to the catch basin, and it's not that fast.
Isn't the biggest problem going towards Center Street on 3rd Street and the Hill? That's been a problem for years.
Down.
Down towards Center Street,
Down on the bottom.
Yeah.
right there.
The right,
There's a whole bunch of plantings in here.
yeah.
Yeah, but then you have the house next to that that's all worn out.
Yeah.
Every rainstorm ends up down on Center Street.
That's right.
Yeah, George has been there a couple of
Yeah.
times.
Building permit and shows a driveway here, but they really park two next to each other.
They're parking in front one.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
parking on-
they had a
Yeah,
garage.
and they have an open permit, I think. I don't know.
Well, they haven't done anything.
And they haven't closed the permit.
We lost his mic. That's very narrow there too, isn't it, George?
Yeah, they got two cars parked there and one parked this way.
George, get the mic closer. Maybe the mic is not working.
Oh, I lost battery. I lost battery. I got a backup. All right. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
Whoops,
Oh,
whoops.
There's really nothing more for us to do. Maybe the board would consider curbs at some point, but other than that, there's really nothing more for us to look
Curbs
at.
at this point, though, would shrink the road considerably where the cars would be in the road.
Well, would it shrink the road or would it make it wider?
It would
Oh,
shrink it because of the
28.
garage. You said a garage is almost what is the setback on that garage?
Oh, that garage is probably 3 feet off the
No, the
property
other-
line and probably maybe 7 feet off the edge of the road.
No, I don't know if that would be a good place for curbs with, you said, George, usually it's 32 feet and already it's a kind of a narrow,
Yeah,
Now,
we're
but-
compromising it.
So there's
plus you
nothing,
have all the parking.
nothing more for us to do.
And right now you go up that street, the one.
Yeah, George, you don't recommend doing
Oh,
anything?
yeah,
My
yeah,
God, it's
parking.
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah,
bottom line?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Nothing to do.
nothing was done for a period of time for a reason, and
Got it.
now you kind of get a sense of the reason.
Tate and 3rd, that a possible curb could go there so that the water is channeled better. I don't know. I'm just asking.
So George, I witnessed the ponding. I know exactly where it is. I saw it yesterday. The ponding, that corner needs to get milled out,
Yep.
right? Because the grade change was on the on the
Right.
repair for Con Ed, yeah, it's
Yeah,
right
yeah,
there on the
right
corner, and that's where it sits, and then, and it has no way to get around the corner.
Yeah, so
So that needs to be milled out.
mill out the 2 foot
Yeah.
swath and
Swale it down around the curb to get to the catch basin, maybe, I don't know, maybe an asphalt curb there to channel the water to the catch basin.
yeah, there's something there now, but could go all the way. So we have a curbing in our bid to
Mhm.
cover doing something here. We didn't quite figure it out, but we wanted to present what issue we see if we put a curb and somebody complains that their car is now sticking out into the street.
Well, if you put a drop curb and just give it a 2-inch reveal, it would channel the water
Yep,
and suffice the parking.
absolutely.
I
So,
think
but
it's about addressing channeling the water.
than anything
Yeah.
else. So,
I
okay.
think so.
But this, putting it here sets us up for a nice alignment here, a nicer alignment here, if it ever does, if this garage, if someone turns this the other way and puts the doors this way, then you'd be kind of, and cuts this off and makes that a grass area, that would be better. And if this garage,
So based on.
or park in the garage.
Is that a way to go? Based on what
Okay.
Anthony just said, is that a way to address the issue?
Yes, it is. Yes, absolutely.
That's what we should look at.
Okay.
Put a change in already.
Well, we had this curb in our 2026 bid, just in case, because it came up, so we put it in. And then the whole discussion, Steve said, let's look at that and see what we're talking about and see what issues are really out there. And that's when we put this together at the last meeting, at the last meeting. Good.
All right,
So,
thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, I think, anything else for us, George?
We had Seward Street as well. We talked about that
Oh.
one, if you want to go over that one.
Yes, while you're here, let's do that.
All right. That came up at
Oh, that's up by the high school, right?
yeah, that's,
Okay.
nice.
Be another issue. Same issue there.
Yeah,
That's right. The kids are parking for school, they're gonna start parking along the curb and be out in the middle of the road. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
You know the answer.
So Seward Street, Rockledge comes around the corner here, Seward Street comes down, school's over here. So we put a few lines on this one. We put a 26, a 28, and a 30, and the existing is 22. So it's almost like hourglass shaped, where it's larger down at this end. This is actually like 32 down at the end. And it's sort of 32 here, where it goes into the school, and then it just narrows right down and then expands out. And the reason it does that is there's this slope right here. And if you start cutting back the slope, the driveways start going from flat to steeper and steeper and steeper for this 203, 201, 197. So this whole side of the road got pushed towards the middle, towards the north. And then this side, you have parking issues. This is a one-car garage. He parks outside, he parks here. This has a garage in the back. These people park out front right here. I didn't put the cars in like in the other one, but this car would be hanging over the curb. 204 would be over the curb, 206 would be over, 208 parking, and 210. They all have parking on the street. And this one has a garage, this one has a garage, and this one has a garage. So they all have garages, but they're utilizing the street for parking. People on this side more or less use the properties. So this came up in a previous discussion where I think 2 years ago, we put a curb. This was an asphalt curb up to this driveway. We kind of put a concrete curb because the plows were hitting it. So back when Scotty was around. So that was the last improvement. So
And then where the school driveway is, if you're thinking about any curbs, it's such a tight turn.
it's right here. And then you have the entrance to the church over here with the gate. And even I was starting to pencil in some type of turnaround. You can't even, you're right up against all the setbacks. You can't even
It made it a very tight.
can't even turn around. And this is,
Your personal opinion, let's hear
It's the bottom line.
it. Never mind all
Leave it the way it is. I mean.
That's it. So, Facebook. All right.
Things are always the way they are for a reason, so.
Yeah, sometimes, yes. The other thing for the June 2nd board meeting, the Village of Croton has gotten their dog control officer, and we're going to be sharing with them. But, all right. So they've done all their training, et cetera, they're approved. Okay. The other thing is a motion to accept bids for the sale of surplus materials from Auctions International. So that covers we have a pretty lively agenda. Okay, so thanks, George. See you next time.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night, George.
So Code Red, I know there was a quick discussion on that to find other prices or better prices, or where are we with that? Are we ready to discuss that or no? Okay. Okay, all right, that's fine.
It was, I think, I had questions about how we use our service, so I need more information so that we can compare the prices. So I can talk to you and we can bring back the information next week.
Memorial Day on Friday, I was at the town of Cortland, a very nice ceremony. And then Monday, it was Verplank Fire Department that hosted the Memorial Day service. Very nice ceremony. Also, because of the weather, it was held at the firehouse. Next year, the Village of Buchanan will be hosting the Memorial Day service. We've already established September 12th will be Buchanan Day. I've let the Running Club know. I'd like to not only have the board, but I also like to have the rec committee involved in Buchanan Day.
Where are we going to celebrate it?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, because
Hopefully-
we closed the pavilion.
Yeah,
We
hopefully it
closed the
doesn't rain.
pavilion, so where will
I
it
don't
be?
know if we can get, maybe we won't have it this year then. Maybe, I don't know if, what a tent, a smaller tent than, for the tennis courts.
It's very expensive.
Yeah,
We
they
just
sure
paid
are.
20,000
Yeah.
for the summer camp.
They sure are. All right, well.
So I
to be
can't even
determined.
imagine doing that back to back if you're going to have it in that area.
Right. Well, I guess, worst case scenario, it would just be the running club would have their thing and maybe we could do some food trucks or something like that. Maybe. We'll see how the weather is because we can always plan it and then cancel it. It's weather permitting, weather, whatever, dependent.
Mm.
That's the best, we're going to be able to do right now.
I'm going to think about that.
Yeah. June 18th is the decommissioning oversight board meeting, which will be here on the third floor, and that will be at 6 p.m. Okay. Let's see. I attended the NICOM meeting in May. There were some very good subjects on emergency management, which is something I've been working with the fire chief and the police chief. But once we get to a better point where we know where we are with that, we'll have a discussion with the board for input from the board on that. Because currently we really don't have an emergency management plan. Well, we do have plans, but we need to get it, official. So my only question is, I'm sorry I didn't ask the gentleman for Broadway. Who did they say they're thinking that the lead agency would be for the Broadway project? I missed it.
What I heard was the village board. That's what I heard. It's your decision.
To be discussed further. I don't think that's wise. So, but that's just me, my opinion. Okay. Wilda, what do you have for us?
Several things. So merging everyone again to join the senior club. It's a lively group. We go on trips. We meet every Tuesday at 1:00 and it's an energetic, lively time. So please join us. I'd also like to thank Marcus and Cindy and Randy and Sharon for the beautiful flags that you've placed throughout the village. They look really nice. So thank you.
And I don't know if you want to, I know you started to mention about the tents for 6 weeks. It will,
For summer camp.
Covers.
Yeah, it's for summer camp.
Covers, yeah, just so.
That way
so
summer
people are
camp
aware.
can happen, without any interruption with the weather, which is why the pavilion is closed.
For now. Steve, what do you have for us?
Not much. I was reminded with these two gentlemen that came in here regarding the zoning board vacancy. Just wondering if there's any update on that. I know it seems like they'll be busy, as well as the planning board very soon. So if we have any update on that.
I do not today, but I hopefully will have before the next meeting. There's also possibly two other people that might be interested.
Okay.
Okay, but thank you for bringing that up.
Sure.
And you had something else?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Wheeler, what do you have this evening?
I only have one thing. I wish George was here because as you were talking about Cannon Day, were we looking at another engineer to look at?
Yes, yes, I can give you an update on that. He spoke to a engineer who specializes in steel construction. The gentleman was away. He's supposed to get back to him probably next week with some kind of proposal to bring back to the board. So waiting for him to come back, who supposedly specializes in this size of steel structures. So he'll probably have an update to you hopefully by next week.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a good question.
The other thing I had was, I know we talked briefly last week about the temporary speed parking by the pavilion, the camp.
Mhm.
Have we ever looked any further into that, what we can or can't do? If it's just temporary for 6 weeks?
By the camp.
Limit parking on Westchester Avenue. Limit it.
No, not parking.
Parking we
speed.
already have.
Speed.
It's a speed.
Temporary
Speed.
Parking during the 6 weeks, but
Speed
yeah,
limit.
Would that be a public hearing? Or
Yes.
it
something?
would be.
Mhm.
You want to lower it, you're saying?
Yeah.
Someone brought up a good point that we have the 50-mile speed limit from the parking lot to pull all the way to Verplank. But the camp's right there and the kids are right there by the road. Why isn't it there during camp?
Right.
That was
up
just
the
something I
coast.
wanted to, maybe look into a little bit.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a public hearing, the camp's gonna be able to start by then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if we have we call for the public, and then it'd be, the public hearing would be call for it, and then we could have it July, and then we're
Correct.
like a week into the camp at that point. Maybe that would work. I don't know.
I don't know.
Steph will research.
As you call for.
We'd like to
yeah.
reduce the speed limit on Westchester Avenue
There you go.
between 4th Street
I got it.
and First Street
Parking
during
and
camp
what? I'm sorry.
and First Street during the hours of camp,
Yep.
Right.
So what speed limit would you like to have it?
15 miles an hour.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
I'm gonna match the school, yeah. Thank you,
Right.
Steve.
Yeah,
Okay, great. Okay,
good.
we'll work together on that.
All
Yes.
right. Well, something else to add, setting a public hearing.
Yes, on that.
Okay. Anything else, Bob?
Go ahead.
Okay. Anthony, what do you have for us tonight?
I just had the question on the pavilion that Bob just asked. I was wondering where we were with the engineering for the, I heard you did say that they found
Yes.
somebody who originally had something to do with the design or construction or fabrication or something.
Yeah, George found the original author of the book. Remember when he was there last?
Oh, wow.
There was some kind of 400-page book
Mhm.
who actually wrote that book. So he reached out to him. He's quasi-retired. So he recommended another engineer who specialized steel structures as well. So he reached out to him, but he was away on vacation during that time. So he said he was in contact with him. He was away on vacation. When he gets back, he was going to talk to George, get an idea of what the steel structure is, and provide a proposal to the board.
But initially, this question, I think the public needs to have the answer to. Initially, we reached out to get engineering done because to repair the roof.
Correct.
Correct, right?
Correct.
So we got into the steel structure because of the engineer that we brought in or George brought in?
The first engineer that, since George said he's not a structural engineer, he reached out to a structural engineer, and again, that's the person that George found. The village board agreed to retain him, and that's the one who came back with an issue regarding the snow load.
But that's what all he was designed to analyze was the snow load.
Correct.
Nothing to do with wind.
Correct. That was the second engineer. Correct. Correct.
Yeah, because it went sideways.
Yes.
It's unfortunate that it went
Correct.
sideways.
Correct.
That's all.
Okay. Stephanie, do you have anything for us this evening? No? Okay. Marcus, do you have anything?
Executive session.
Okay.
Personnel matter.
Personnel,
Yes.
okay. Most likely, I think the issue that we discussed with the school might be a litigation.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'd like to speak about that. Okay, any comments from the public? Nobody? Okay. Oh, yes, sir, please come up.
Are we timing this?
State your name.
No, I'm gonna do it. Okay.
I'll be quick. I know it's getting late. Eric Warner, 159 Seward Street. First, congratulations to you three for winning the late election. Mr. Wheeler, congratulations as well.
Thank you.
I hope you guys will find a better term this time working together as a team. Everyone achieves more. And I hope you guys will do that even more this year. A couple things I want to approach you guys. Obviously, I've asked about shared mitigation as these builders are starting to come in here more and more. I think it's something that's very important. I think Awilda, I give you a lot of credit for asking the question about emergency services. Mr. Capicotti asking about the infrastructure. It is a very vital, very expensive part of our budgets here. We all know that. The one thing these guys will never be able to tell you is about emergency services. They don't know the system. That's going to be a hard part. So one of the reasons I'll show you that too, if you don't mind. Ms. Layton, I want you to have this case. You're sorry. You weren't here.
Thank you.
You guys should take a read at it. You know,
Oh, I have that.
I did the homework. This is for you to read. I'll tell you one second.
Okay, sure. See if I can.
So obviously, as you build, you're stretching and stretching your resources even longer. What I gave Teresa is this thing called the regional MAC, okay? Westchester has its own. If you don't understand what that means, they basically write the books on how we handle patients, drugs, meds, transportations, all right? It's being stretched further and further in the area. He had an accident on Kings Ferry. The only reason that kid made it to the hospital that day was the paramedics. Some of the best I know. That kid, I'll put him against any New York City medic any given day of the week. I know him very well. So as you read these packages I gave you, we're going into a narrative where we're going to have to get more emergency services, paid services. It's in those packets. That's not something I just pulled out of my back pocket. That's homework. Talking to Jimmy Seymour, Chief of the City Peace Corps Fire Department. Know Jimmy very, very well. Your capabilities here are very limited. These guys are not trained to fight fires in 4-story multiple dwellings. Even New York City struggles with it. I did it for 20 years and been scared of numerous fires. To stretch some of these lines, 300 feet of line, you need about 6 to 8 people to put one line in operation. As you get more people coming here that are renting, they don't care for the community. I agree with everybody. We should have people want to live here and own here. A co-op would be better than a rental. The only people making out on a rental is the people who own the building. Co-op people care more for here. They got skin in the game. All right. Also, we got to think about how this impacts our schools. 220 something units. We already had our budget hearing up here. It just crushed us. And it's going to continue to crush us as years go by with more students coming to the schools. So really, I seriously think you guys really need to look at this. The Giordano project, hey, I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea. It's manageable. Yeah, there's some slow problems there. Okay. I'm not a geographic guy. I would tell you how much concrete's coming out of there. I mean, Mr. Capicotti can tell you that better than I could. He does that for a living. I wouldn't even try to tell you how many, square tonnage. It's a half acre of concrete. So, also, again, going back to shared mitigation, Teresa's asked Marcus numerous times, why have you not looked at this? You're looking at major development in the next 10 years for this village.
You have 30 seconds.
Where we put a lot of money in the bank. So I've asked the question on times, with never an answer to the question.
I have an answer for you. While I was at the NICOM meeting, I talked to other people in other communities, and there is a community in Westchester County that does, and I will forward this to the board, and if you'd like to see it, it's their shared mitigation plan, has nothing to do with affordable housing. This is their plan when a developer comes in. So I will share that with everyone.
And Teresa, if you could, just read the paper I gave you so they understand the emergency services problem with your EMS system. And again, that is the Hudson Valley. We have our own in Westchester County. Westchester County is having an identical problem. Only Hudson Valley was bold enough to come out and make a statement like this, and it's a public statement.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. All right. We'll get it to everybody of this. Anyone else? Any comments from the floor? If not, we will be going into an executive session. Yes, sir.
Hello all.
Hi.
How are we doing today? I'm Robert Lepika from 169 Cortlandt Street. Cindy, how are you? Sharon, Peter, Will, I've never met you, but congratulations and welcome to the community.
Thank you.
Steve, Teresa, Bob, Anthony, Marcus, Stephanie. Congratulations on the ones who won the election.
It was good. It's a thankless job.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Mhm.
So I'm here to talk about our taxes. And unfortunately, they keep on going up. Just to give a perspective, when I bought my house in 2003, my village tax was under $400. You know what it is today? Last year it was $4,000. Right now it's probably going to be $4,400. 10 times in 23 years. Why is that? Because we don't have economic development. We haven't thought about the future. And that's not the real tax that we should be worried about. It's a school tax. My school tax just went up $1,600. $1,600 in 1 year. So I think the village tax right now is going to go up $400. So between the 4 and the 16, that's $2,000 in 1 year. We talk about affordability. How do people on fixed incomes afford this? So we look back on what we did as a village. We had Entergy that was producing the golden eggs. The goose was laying them. But what was our plan? We knew the village didn't have a plan. They were going to end in 13 and 14. That's when their charter was going down. 2 was 13, 3 was 14. And we had no plan. They've been working on extensions ever since. And unfortunately, our man Cuomo, he got caught up in his problems. But his administration was crooked too. Look at the Buffalo billions at our state. It all cost us money, right? Like, what are we doing? We're not planning. And even the town of Cortland wasn't planning. What was their game plan? Did anybody have a plan for when Entergy was going to leave? No. We sat around and we said, oh, we didn't expect this. So where was our plan? We have no economic development between us. Marcus, that's you, right? Economic development?
I know, I do the budget.
Oh, I realize that, but who else is doing economic development?
So what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
What am I suggesting?
Yeah.
That somebody takes charge. We need to develop. We need smart growth, and we don't have it. And you know what? The big question is not us. It's the town of Cortland. So when, whatever his name is, Becker, came running for office, he came to my house. And I said, you probably don't want to talk to me. And he said, oh, no, I do. And I said, okay, what about the school? He goes, that's not me, that's them. So unfortunately, either he doesn't understand what goes on, or he doesn't have a plan, because the school doesn't determine their budget. I mean, they determine their budget. They don't figure out how the budget gets paid. Entergy was a third of that budget. Their budget was $75 million. That's 25% or $25 million. We had no game plan for that. So what are we doing as a village? We need some economic development. These people who want to build, we should make them pay for a lot of stuff. Our EMS that he was just talking about, the sewer plant, we wanted to get rid of our sewer plant. Good thing we didn't get rid of it. The 3 best things right now that happened to this village, in my opinion, was Entergy, that sewer plant, and now this new development. And we can thank Danny Stewart, Laker, and Anthony taking it away from our zoning and planning. They've been stymieing us for years. And if they didn't take it away, we would never have that. And the opposition against it is I can see it 3 stories up. What building in this county that you block 3 stories up? I mean, it was ridiculous what there's opposition that came here to talk about that place. It's going to change our demographics. Our demographics now are going to get corporations that might want to come here. If we don't change our demographics, we're going to have the same. So that project and the other project's going to give us what? 10% population growth? Maybe 15? But we're going to change our demographics. Now we get people who are going to spend money, disposable income, right? What are we doing? We can't allow, I mean, the Wilder Water, that was a non-starter. You can't bring people into community that don't have money. You need people who have money to spend money, and then we can develop us as a commercial base. Restaurants, who knows, coffee shops, anything. Anything. The Circle, that looks like it's embarrassment. What do we got there? One person told me, oh, we got a clock. That is your claim to fame is we put a clock in the middle of the circle? I look at her, I was like, you're standing on that? Like, what are we doing as a village? We need to promote economic development. We got to keep Peter busy, right? So the M2 that we were talking about, is that the portion of land that's down at Lens Cove that Holtec owns?
Correct.
We need to develop that. And if we can do something on the 9 acres that we have, let somebody develop it. Lease it out to them, get them money, have them build us up. We need something. And these people, if they want to build, let them go 6 stories. Let them buy us a ladder truck. So the big game plan for this community is not us. It's Montrose, Cook, Brookfield, Bellotta, and Vale. That property right there needs to be developed. That is the vision of this whole community and our taxes for the school. They develop that. That takes up our, right? I mean, think about it. We're spending a lot of money. How do people here going to afford this community if taxes keep on going up?
Oh, no, I understand that, Bob. I'm going to tell you something. Out of the circle, my 2 buildings, village tax alone.
Crazy.
$10,000
Crazy.
for each.
Crazy. So when
So I understand.
I paid $4,500 when I came in 2003, $4,500. I'm at $15,000 now. That's 3 times up. How can somebody on fixed income afford it? And we don't have kids who are living here, who are staying here. Why? They can't afford this community. So we're getting, well, the people from the city are moving up.
Something wrong with us?
No, there's nothing wrong with you. So we need people with money. But we don't have the kids who are growing up here that can't afford it.
And I just want to say this, and your 3 minutes were up, but anyway, I just want to say this. They keep bringing the schools into the fold. When I was the liaison, I toured the schools. The classrooms are very, very low in terms of enrollment. So if we get more students, the school gets more state aid and they generate revenue, right? So we don't have that.
So the next thing I want to talk about is the master plan. We started up there before on the comprehensive master plan. What was that master plan from?
What year? I forgot.
What year? Anybody got the question?
Yeah.
2005. Nice, Anthony. You're paying attention. So when are we supposed to redo that master plan? Every
Bob.
10 years.
So yes, correct.
Yes.
So here's the thing, there's not much more to be developed here in the village, other than the waterfront area, which is Holtec.
We've got some things to change.
So that's why Dave was here tonight. That's what we're talking about with, what our potential is to
Yes.
develop in the future.
So
When that
Teresa,
property gets released.
on that 2005 master plan,
Mhm.
they govern what we should do as a village, correct?
Correct, yes. Even
How much of that master plan did we do? Give a percent. Peter, have you read it?
5%.
a while ago.
I would say it's less than 5%, Anthony, but that's good. And do you know what we spent on that master plan? Quick, Bob. Almost $100,000. And we did less than 5%. So why are we doing it again if we don't follow what they give us? And there's a lot of things on there that give us recommendations how to change things. Coming into the village.
What am I gonna do for you?
What are you gonna do, Therese?
You were on the economic development.
Ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
I didn't-
Listen, I wanted to do it when Sean Murray was the mayor. You know what I said to him? Sean, we're in an '08 crisis. We can have a developer come in here and buy the circle, I call it the triangle. All those places were for sale. We should have bought them and have a developer come in and rebuild them. We could have had a great circle.
So 2 of those.
Mixed use.
Are not for sale, just so you know.
Oh, I know, listen, but they were for sale back then.
There's two barber shops, there's a restaurant there, there's an.
Don't forget the dogs,
dog?
don't forget the
I
dog.
can't forget.
I know. We used to have a pharmacy, Teresa.
Yes.
Remember and the pizza place came in after the pharmacy?
Yeah.
But where's the vibrant? My kid doesn't even want to stay here. I want to give her my house. She doesn't want to stay because there's no vibe here. We're losing it. All they say is we need walkability, livability,
Right.
and
Walkability.
so we need something. And the train station is right here.
And there's a transitory.
Right here. So what are we doing as a community? We need to come together.
I agree.
And develop. smart growth, but we need to develop and make these people pay. And the big thing is, we should get the town of Cortland Montrose. How are we not developing Montrose?
We gave them the sewer line.
And we talked about it, Anthony, and the problem is, our man Becker, he controls it.
Montrose has a very big.
Listen, if Malice was still there,
It's transit district. They're
Right.
proposing that by the.
oh, listen, if Malice was still there, he'd be pushing it. Dennis was a big behind that. Oh, he was behind that, but we need something. And the other game plan is Broadway. Sewer plant down, run the sewer line down Broadway.
Well, we only have so much.
Oh, well, listen, make them pay. Let's get free.
Bob, I would really.
I know. Listen, I'm ready, Teresa. I'm ready.
Hours.
Listen,
Okay, we're gonna put you.
we gotta do something about this.
We could go
Right?
on and on.
Bob, how you doing golf today?
I had 8 bars and 1 bogey. I was on fire.
There you
I was
go.
on fire. And I rushed to get here just for this. So since I spent an hour and a half sitting behind Danny and Sue, I had to get up and speak.
But Bob, I just want to say this, our time is limited, but I would love to continue the conversation with you. You are one of the few people who have actually stood up to defend development, and I appreciate that.
Well, I'm up at 169 Cortlandt Street. You come anytime. The door's always open.
Okay.
Let's not talk about that. So I wore this on purpose, the hat and the shirt. When I moved into that house, I put up an American flag. And if you drive up Cortlandt and Catherine, take a guess how many houses have an American flag every day. Every day. No, there's probably like 20 of them every day, Mr. Laker. Every day, the American flag. And every year, 1 and 1, another person will put the flag up. So we've got to be American. We're losing our edge in the world.
All right, that's a lot to talk about.
Right?
Okay, Bob.
Well,
But thank
as
you.
always,
Thank you.
Appreciate.
I'll be at the next meeting.
Yeah, please come back.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, Bob.
Thanks for having me.
You brought the vibe.
Yeah,
You
well,
brought the
listen,
vibe.
we got to do something. I mean, I want to keep the house. I don't want to sell it,
I know.
but we can't keep on going this direction. Pretty soon I'll be, well, you know, when I talk to people in the rest of the county, I tell them, oh, my taxes went up 3-fold. They're like, wow. And I tell them I'm paying $15,000.
No, Bob, I
They
have
don't
a
even
simple
care.
Question. Did you vote on the school budget?
No, I wasn't here. Unfortunately, my mother passed away and I was
Sorry.
in North Carolina. So I've been dealing with that and I'm going back Thursday. Unfortunately, I got to sell a house and all the BS that comes along with that. So that's my problem.
But thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, Bob.
And I thank you guys for the effort that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. And I'm up at 169 in case anybody wants to come say hello.
I know where you are.
Oh, I know where you are.
Okay. All right, if there's no one else, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session for potential litigation and personnel. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Have a great
Thank
weekend day.